Welcome back to Before the Score. This is episode 6. We got a loaded show for you today. I'm going to throw it to Pablo Hernandez to start us off.
Well, Steve, what can I say? I mean, if you were to tell me about 2 months ago that on today, what's today's date?
Today's January
you tell me.
16th. Happy birthday, Dennis Nakenga.
Today is January 16th, 2020. If you would tell me that by January 16th, 2020, the Houston Astros, the Boston Red Sox, and now, as of today, breaking news, Carlos Beltran no longer the manager of the New York Mets. If you were to tell me that 4 months ago, I'd say you're out of your damn mind. But let me tell you, today and all of this week, the amount of news and the amount of storylines that have been going on throughout the league have just been remarkable. And to be honest, we may never see a week like this in baseball ever again.
This was baseball's week from hell. This is going to change the game forever.
Absolutely, Steve. And I want to take you guys back to the Houston Astros scandal. All right, so we first find out about the scandal, I want to say around 2 months ago, or right around after the season ended.
Right after the World Series.
Right after the World Series. We find out that they were accused by former Houston Astros player Mike Fiers. He said, by the way, this is a guy who won the World Series with that team. He said that while he was a member of the 2017 Houston Astros that would go on to defeat my New York Yankees in the best of 7 games, a best of 7 series that they did not win one game on the road, but they went home and they won all 4 games at home. So they would go on to.
It's a little fishy, but let's
it's
interrupt
right
fishy. There real quick about Mike Fiers.
Yes.
There was a big debate going on of whether he was right to even say what
Well,
he
yeah,
said.
is he the whistleblower or is he the rat?
Exactly.
So you got to see what side of the coin you're on here. And personally, I think he did the right thing. I think he's a whistleblower, not a rat. But when you look at how the guys in that clubhouse, per se, with the Astros, how they reacted to it, they must have been pretty pissed off that this guy's coming out and, revealing their secrets. But in hindsight, for the game of baseball, of course he did the right thing.
I think that he definitely did the right thing from a game of baseball perspective. But if say he's your teammate, say you're a man on the Houston Astros, how are you looking at this guy right now?
I know.
You absolutely fucking hate this guy right now.
Well, I'm going to tell you
Absolutely.
something right now, and I'm sure all you guys can agree. This guy, as a member of the Oakland Athletics, he has to play the Houston Astros in Houston. He's going to have to pitch there maybe at least 3 times.
He's going to be the most hated man.
He's going to be the most hated man in Houston. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of problems, a lot of brawls started because of this guy. This guy, it's weird, all right? I got to go back to this. Mike Fiers, the dude with the stupid little mustache. Him, Ken Rosenthal, and my boy John Boy from John Boy Media. 3 guys single-handedly cost the jobs of the Houston Astros manager, their general manager, cost the owner $5 million in fines.
2 draft picks.
2 draft picks, the first and second round draft picks for the next 2 years.
Yeah, so 4 draft picks, yeah.
So 4 draft picks. You also took away the jobs from Alex Cora, who I'm not done with Alex Cora. We're going to go back to
We're
Alex
going to get
Cora.
back to Alex Cora later in the show.
And Carlos Beltran. This guy single-handedly caused so many people to lose their jobs. And to be honest, I don't even know. I don't know how he's going to make it out alive next season.
Well, when you look at it, yeah, he's going to be playing the A's, 20 times a year or something
19
like that?
times.
19 times a year. Exactly. So when you go to this new team, you want to do everything to help the team win. And you understand 19 games is a big part of your schedule. I mean, that's the big, you play your division rivals 19 times. So with those games, you want to win those games. And knowing that they cheat, he had to do the right thing and, whistleblow.
Well, 2 things here. First off, John Boy, fantastic. That guy just puts out
He's awesome.
Great stuff. Really informative. Second thing, Andrew, what do you think of these penalties? Do the Astros deserve these penalties? Was this too harsh?
Well, back to what you're saying with Mike Fiers. The way that people wanted to say that he could have just dealt with that internally and brought it up to baseball without going to the media, without going to social media. But the thing is, there's been rumblings about this going on since 2017. So if he went to the league, they can kind of do it their own way and wouldn't be as big as it got. The way that he took to social media kind of took on its own life with John Boy and all that other social media because as Yankee fans, obviously John Boy's a Yankees fan, so he really cared about it. So he's the one that kind of tried exposing it more than Fiers could himself. So it kind of snowballed into what it became now. So the punishments for the Astros are going to talk about, or all 3?
Let's talk about the Astros.
Okay, for Astros, I think it was fair. I mean, a lot of Yankees fans that I know thought it was a little light. They wanted to take away championships. They were never going to take away a championship. They were never taking away that 2017 championship, no matter how bad. No, they would have to do something crazy a lot worse than what they did. To
Like
get that
what?
Well,
Like
you
what?
wanted Hinch banned from baseball.
Exactly. I did want him banned.
like
from baseball.
actually like fix the games, like paying umpires or something. That's the only way it would get taken away.
I mean, when you really look at it, what's the difference? They changed the complete outcome of that season. People have lost their jobs. Joe Girardi is no longer a manager for the New York Yankees because he didn't win that playoff series in 2017.
Right, but it already happened. That's 3 years. That's almost 3 years ago.
You can't go back.
So
in time.
you can't take away the feeling that the players and the fans that they had. That's always going to be there. So taking away a title, it just does nothing. But
You're
just
telling
cause
me
more
you could crown the Dodgers 2-time World
no,
World
there
Series
wouldn't. You wouldn't crown
can't.
anybody. You would
Well,
just
yeah,
take it
yeah,
away, and it
they-
would just be nothing.
I'm just saying,
like
you
the strike.
vacate
It would be
the
like the
season.
strike here.
Michigan's not the champs
Yeah.
over Louisville because they took away Louisville.
Same thing with USC. Yeah.
I think that is the stupidest thing.
Oh yeah, it's the
I
worst.
know.
sports,
I
it's
know. I don't
taking
care. I don't
away
care
that.
what happened.
Okay,
I
all
never
right,
agree
all
with
right.
taking away
All right.
championships.
So
It already happened.
let me ask you guys a question, right? If Hinch only received one season for doing this despicable, disgusting act with the Houston Astros,
Okay.
then what about his henchman, his commander-in-chief, the number one guy, Alex Cora, the guy who orchestrated everything? Him, along with Carlos Beltran, who we will talk about later, are the two guys
Leave
to
Carlos
lead the
out
charge.
of it for a second. Just go with Alex.
Well, first off, you have to make the distinction that Cora was a manager, Beltran was a player. There's a clear line right there.
Clear line.
Clear line in the MLB. We'll get into that in a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
But if you're thinking about Alex Cora, I think he definitely should get worse than what Hinch got. Because
What's worse? Let's hear it.
I would say maybe 2 years.
I say 10 years.
10 years.
10 years.
If you're
or
banning
ban.
from 10 years, you're just banning him from
You,
life.
you
You're
might
just
as well
banning
ban
him
this guy. This guy
indefinitely.
is. Come on, bro.
Do you think it's a shoo-in that Hinch and Cora are going to get jobs after this year?
I think Hinch, yes. Cora, no.
I don't think. I think Cora could, not
And
anytime
wait,
soon.
After this year, not after the season, but eventually.
No,
I don't-
Hinch wouldn't even get a job right away.
No.
He'll wait a couple more years, let it kind of die down, so no one's as talking about it as much. And then someone who really needs a manager, and AJ Hinch is sitting there with no more suspension looming, then someone's gonna hire him.
I think Hinch will definitely get a job. I even think I'm one of the people that think Cora will get a job. I think maybe they'll get him an advisor job somewhere down the
He's
road.
gonna start.
once his
I'm
suspension
saying he
is
has to
done.
start somewhere and build his reputation up, and then find the right spot.
Yeah.
Even without the cheating accusations, I know you could say he's never been a manager without cheating, but the players still love the guy. He goes to bat for them every time.
You can't say that Alex Cora is a bad manager.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
can't say, oh, that's the only reason he was successful is because
Can't
he
say
cheated.
he was a good manager.
He won a World Series. Yes, you can.
No, you can't say that.
It's-
It's a
he
tainted
didn't-
World
he-
Series with two teams.
On the Red Sox, what the Red Sox did not impact that much with their
It
their
doesn't matter.
2018
It
season.
doesn't matter.
Yes, it does matter.
It doesn't matter.
100%
Well,
matters.
what
It
if-
doesn't matter.
What would you say if more information comes out about this and it's revealed that the Yankees were using some devices as well?
That would be a fun episode.
What would you say?
I would say the same exact thing.
No, you wouldn't.
Yeah, I
No, you
would.
No, you
wouldn't.
wouldn't.
You would say
Now, would I be disgusted? Would I be ashamed? Absolutely. But would I be like, you know what? They were wrong, and they do need to suffer the consequences.
so you would feel Aaron Boone should be fired and
It depends. It depends on the situation. And
similar situation to Alex Cora, just using the video replay room and stuff like that. And you saw, I don't know who this is behind this Twitter account saying the stuff about Glaber Torres and the buzzer on his
Look,
left leg. If
look.
that turns out to be
Tio
true,
Carlos.
Look,
Tio
look.
Carlos.
Look,
Tio
look.
Carlos.
all that stuff where that person is claiming to be Carlos Beltran's niece or whatever. The family of Carlos Beltran, they are denying that. They're saying they don't know who this person is, but it is kind of fishy that that person predicted that Carlos Beltran got the job. That person predicted that Carlos Beltran was gonna get fired. That person predicted everything. So I hope this is not right.
Well, the rumors is that it's a player with a burner account or something.
Yeah.
It's posing as Beltran's niece, which would be pretty wild. But even if it's not Beltran's, if it's not a player, it's somebody who has insane connections
Yeah.
within the Mets, the Astros.
Because
these organizations.
these are big
Yeah.
accusations first to say, and then also the predictions of him getting hired and fired. I guess the firing, not as much as a surprise compared to when he was hired. That was more of I think that was 2 days before. So,
But she also had it first, both times.
well,
First person.
yeah,
Talk about
it could be
Whoever-
he. You
whoever
never
it
know.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I
They-
mean that's not something where it's like, oh my God. She didn't say that the Yankees traded for Mike Trout and it happened.
I mean,
it's
those
something that
are
nobody
both
saw.
likely to happen when
Yeah,
they came out with
There
it.
were two things that were probably most
You
likely
could have
to
had any
happen.
random person just guess, oh, it seems likely they're going to do this, so I want to say, they're definitely going to hire
But
Carlos
she's
Beltran
also
when he was the favorite.
I'm calling her a she because that's what the account was.
Yeah.
Was the first one to put into words the thing about the buzzer, and now with the research about Altuve grabbing his shirt
I also think that's completely made into thin air.
Yes,
but
I agree.
Well, you think it's completely
it depends.
false?
Yeah, he went in. The way he describes it, I mean, I don't know. No one knows for sure. Obviously, there's no way to prove that, especially now.
All right, but how about all these images that are surfacing with like
wrinkles?
No, not the wrinkles.
That's
wrinkle,
so stupid.
that wrinkle,
or the one about Reddick with the little line on here. It was, I don't know.
I don't know if that.
It was either like an earpiece or like confetti or something.
But that's
like
something
that.
they spoke about, like with his last report. That's something they spoke about.
That's a wire that signals what pitch is coming. That is completely different than what we've dealt with. Yeah. That is a whole new level.
Okay,
and you can't prove it either way. So we're just talking about nonsense right now.
You can't put anything past this team. This is the same team that had.
How are you going to prove it? You have to have someone else speak. Unless another player comes out.
They could prove. They could prove anything.
Yeah. Look, Tio Carlos has the pictures.
What we know right now is we really don't know much. There's a lot of information that's coming out, and it's not confirmed, not denied yet. Everything's in the air. We don't know how many teams. There might be multiple teams doing this. There was reports that were turned down, but it said the Yankees, Dodgers, Astros, and the Red Sox were all involved in some sort of video replay review. But what we know now is what I said. We don't know anything. So information is going to keep coming in these coming weeks, and we don't know. Another team might get involved in the mix.
Well, another team is involved in the mix, but they didn't benefit from it at all.
Yeah.
The Mets have gotten consequences done to them by this investigation.
Not the Mets being cheaters, though. Not the Mets being cheaters. Let's put it that way.
No, the way they played the past 3 years, they could not have been cheating. They could not have been
they
cheating.
Cheated the fans, yeah.
if they're cheating, they're not doing it. Right?
Maybe the only one cheating is DeGrom. No. Let me stop.
But let's talk about Carlos Beltran for a bit, because this is something that when the news first broke, I was heated about. I was pissed off.
Very.
I know Andrew almost didn't want to even do the show today. That's how mad he was.
No, I didn't know. I didn't want to talk to him about it.
Well,
him being Pablo.
Let's have him start us off. Pablo, what are your thoughts about the Carlos Beltran firing, stepping down?
If you guys remember last week, I was talking about the situation, and I was saying that everybody involved, AJ Hinch, the ownership, Alex Cora, and I even said, even though you can't really blame all the players from the Houston Astros team, you could kind of look at Carlos Beltran because he was, somebody who had a very close relationship with Alex Cora, both being from Puerto Rico. These guys are very close, and they're both looked at as kind of like leaders in that clubhouse. Now, the thing with Carlos Beltran, and the thing that really bothers me from the New York Mets standpoint, honestly, I think it's kind of hilarious, putting this aside, that the Mets, this situation had nothing to do with them, but it's just funny how they just found themselves.
It's so funny, I'm crying.
They found themselves in the middle of it. It's just, anyway. So
just Mets bad luck.
It is Mets bad luck, but at the same time, it's the Mets' lack of due diligence that really bothers me, and it would bother me if I were a Mets fan, because this is something that was talked about when when Ken Rosenthal came out with a report from The Athletic that Carlos Beltran might have perhaps been involved. Now, when you know that, now I do know at the time Carlos Beltran was already hired, or he was close to being hired by the Mets as the new manager. They should have been thinking in the back of their mind, hey guys, what if this turns out to be true? What if Carlos Beltran, if he turns out that he was involved? We need to have a plan B. And to be honest,
can I cut you off?
Yes, you can cut me off real quick, but I need to finish.
Okay, so there was a statement coming from Brody Van Wagenen today, obviously the GM of the Mets, saying Carlos was very open when we were talking to him and interviewing him about his past with the Astros. So those conversations of him becoming the manager, the Mets definitely did their due diligence on him of what happened. And they heard enough from him being honest that they obviously hired him. So maybe it wasn't enough from Carlos's standpoint, or he could have lied. They could have put that as a statement to make the organization look better. You never know.
Now, here's my thoughts real quick. I am absolutely livid with the MLB and the way they handled the situation with Beltran.
Yep.
I think what they did to Carlos Beltran was wrong.
Yep.
I think that naming him in their initial report was wrong.
BS.
If you're not going to name him, you don't name him. If you don't name any other
players. If you're not going to suspend him, don't name him.
If you're not going to suspend him, don't name him.
Why is he the only player named in that report?
You don't go and name Hinch. Well, if you can name Hinch, name Cora, name Luna, whatever the hell you want to do. Do not name Carlos Beltran if you're not going to name Carlos Correa, if you're not going to name Alex Bregman, if you're not going to name
wait, 1 sec. They literally put Beltran's name in the report, the MLB, just because Beltran was a manager of the Mets. Mm-hmm. They wanted to put their influence on the Mets decision, the MLB,
100%.
To make sure that they got rid of him, because they didn't want this bad taste of Carlos Beltran being a manager. They didn't want to have the
The black cloud looming over the game.
Yes, exactly.
They wanted to get rid of it.
And they didn't want the risk if something were to happen with the Mets cheating, which obviously after all this, Carlos obviously not going to do anything like that because they're going to be watching him. But they put his name in the report, just his name, because he was a manager and the MLB wanted to get rid of him.
If Carlos Beltran was sitting at home right now, not doing anything related to baseball, he would not have been listed. The MLB was trying to force the Mets' hand to fire him because they knew that if they listed Beltran in the report, then obviously the media would eat it up. And I bet you the MLB even talked to some of these reporters and said, hey, eat this up. Talk about Carlos Beltran being a cheater.
And the MLB knows what they're doing because they know the Mets do not react well with the media. Mm-hmm. The Mets are one of the worst teams reacting to the media. If the media gives them a little push, they're going to make a move just to make the media happy, which is terrible. It's a terrible organization run top to bottom, and it pisses me off that they are listening to these media members because of this. It just pisses me off.
Now, I agree that that's true, and the Mets do react horribly to the media, but you can't tell me that any of these other teams would have kept Beltran as a manager after this today.
No, nobody.
There was nobody else that would have kept Carlos
Beltran.
I
agree with
that.
It
just so happened that it was the Mets, and it looks even worse, but the MLB knew what they were doing. They knew they didn't want Beltran because if that wasn't their plan, then they would have named everybody else.
Yeah, the MLB made it a bad look on the Mets, and they wanted them to push the hand. But you could make your argument.
I do not think that Major League Baseball was pushing for Beltran to be fired. I think he was named in the report because he was one of the senior players on that team, and he was the closest thing to a manager of any of those players on the team.
Doesn't
so
matter.
He had if he actually say this is 100% true, and that Beltran was hand in hand with Cora. So he's still an employee, so he's still a player. So I don't agree that he should have been suspended or fired. He wasn't suspended, which is why he shouldn't be fired. But I'll get into that in a little bit. But the reason he was named in the report is because he's one of the senior players on the team, and if he is that senior player, that role model on the team, and he is one of these analytical guys who is going to be hand in hand with Cora, even though he's not a manager, and implementing the system, and is actually one of the actual masterminds, like how they said in the report, then they're going to name him in it. If no other player is like that, if no other player is close to what he's doing with that system, that cheating system, then they wouldn't name those. They wouldn't name Altuve just for using it. Carlos Beltran had a horrible year that year, and he wasn't benefiting that much for him. But if he was the brains behind that, even though he's a player, they're going to name him. And I think this is just a consequence of them actually, because if he's actually that involved in this cheating scandal, they'll name him, and this is just a result of that.
Well, everyone has their feet in the murky water here, the players included, and I get what you're saying. He's more of a role model in the club, but he's a player. That hands down, he's there. Yes, there's a line there. I agree with Steve.
You can be right damn on the line though.
Well, he's on the player's side.
He's on the player's side. He's not
a manager.
Which is why he wasn't suspended. He was a player.
It's also why he shouldn't have been.
So he's following orders. But if he has a hand, if he has a big role in those orders for the players to use this cheating system, then he deserves his name dragged.
Wait.
I don't care right. If he was behind the camera in center field. If he's a player,
what the hell was that even?
All right, I'm saying.
Wait.
That's a terrible analogy.
No, I just want to go back to what he said. Yeah, since he's a player, why is he in the report if he's not getting suspended? He's not getting fined.
Because he's the most prominent player. He's a manager now, and he was the biggest influence in that cheating scandal of any of the players.
It doesn't matter. Then give him a suspension if he has a giant role.
I'm not disagreeing. You can name him in it and still not give him suspension.
There's no need to put his name in the water there.
Look, I kind of agree with both of you guys. Number one, the reason why he is mentioned and the reason why he's so talked about is because he's in an advisory role, and he wasn't in an advisory role, with the Yankees, and now being a manager of the New York Mets. This guy is no longer a player. But the thing I have to go back and say is that the players, the MLB, they did a very huge investigation over this. They have former cops, former people, from the FBI. They have their own huge investigation team. Now, all the MLB players were given immunity. That means they could talk to MLB, the reporters, the investigators, and tell them everything that they needed to know. And none of them, would get any kind of fine or suspension or anything. So what really kind of bothers me is that Carlos Beltran, just like you said, he was a part of the players' union. So
and he was granted that immunity.
Granted that immunity,
and he never got suspended.
But immunity is also
they did the next word thing.
But the only reason why I think his name was coming up was because
you couldn't have the whole report without putting Beltran in there. If he had that big of a role in it, you couldn't do it without him. It's not a full report. Then it's hiding stuff from the public,
but
you
can't
either
name all the players or you don't name any of them.
Yeah,
but you didn't have anything else to prove. It was probably obvious that Beltran had significantly more of a role in it than any other player. So you obviously wouldn't name Jose Altuve just for using it. But if Jose Altuve was one of the masterminds behind this, he would have been named too.
Now, the MLB knew exactly what they were doing with this report.
If Alex Cora and AJ Hinch came to Carlos Beltran and said, stop doing this, he would have to stop doing it because he wasn't the manager. and that's it. That's who's.
That's why he shouldn't have been fired. He was not nearly as.
Been named
he was a player.
It
He was
falls on
following
the
orders.
Shoulders, not the player.
And the sorry Mets front office listens to the media.
I think
anybody would have.
I think Carlos Beltran would have been an outstanding manager. This guy, he's bilingual. He's a very smart man, and he's been a part of winning cultures, throughout all his years and time in baseball. Now, that being said, I think it was very irresponsible for the Mets to not have a backup plan because they knew as well as we knew that this was a possibility. There was a possibility.
Not a single person, including the Mets organization. Yes, obviously they do have to look at it, but that wasn't a reason at the time to not hire the guy if they thought he was the guy. It wasn't a mistake hiring him. They just got the shit luck.
It wasn't a mistake hiring him, but it was kind of a mistake not.
Nobody hires a manager expecting to fire him before the season starts.
I understand that, but there's a time where you have to be like, look, this might happen. You know what? We might have to kind of look at other ways and other directions.
If you're doing that, then you're not going to hire the guy.
And not go silent. Exactly. Not go silent when this thing happened because the New York Mets, they didn't talk about anything. Once this thing came out about all the suspensions and Carlos Beltran being mentioned, I know it was only a few days. They didn't say anything. All they were talking about was, today and naming the Mike Piazza Street out in front of their spring training complex.
They already had that scheduled for.
I understand, but that's the only thing that they were talking about.
Horrible timing. I don't agree with the Mets going completely silent, but you didn't want to murky up the entire press conference after today. They have to have a press conference by the end of the week because they need to talk about this.
Brody had a conference call today, but they actually have to do an actual official.
I think they might wait. A phone conference call.
It depends how long the new coaching search. They might just wait till if they're hiring a coach this week, they'll wait till they hire a new coach.
Exactly. Well, let's talk about that. Let's wrap the segment up by talking about who do you think will replace Carlos Beltran as a manager of the New York Mets?
Well, in January, it's hard to get anybody from the outside. So
three teams looking for managers.
3 teams,
and
I think all three. I think 3 teams. I think obviously third worst roster probably. I mean the Red Sox are close, but. Because the Red Sox didn't have a great year last year, but I think for the Mets, what's his first name? Luis Rojas. Yeah, I think he'd be the leading candidate right now because he knows the system and he's been in the system, and it's really hard to get an outside manager in January.
Well, yeah, what they're going to do is they're going to go back to their search, and when they narrowed it down to 3 or 4 candidates, and obviously Carlos won the job, they're going to look back at those 3 or 4 candidates and see what they didn't like, and maybe ask them questions about that, and try to get the best of the 3. I mean, you had, like you said, Luis Rojas. Then you have Eduardo Perez, which
I would like Eduardo Perez, but I don't think he'll be brought in because it's just late. It's too late for him to come in with a staff that's already in place. I mean, if you're gonna hire Eduardo Perez, you gotta hire really the Mets are hiring a placeholder this year.
Yes.
Unless you hire Rojas, you're hiring a placeholder because you're not gonna.
Even if you hire Rojas, you can say you can sell it after the year. Now, if they don't make the playoffs, it was an interim move.
Sorry, that's why I think cut you off. Sorry, you could go. I was gonna
say I think the perfect candidate is already in house, and he's already been the manager here before.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going.
Terry Collins.
He's the bench coach. Yes, I was about to say you could use him as a placeholder for the year, and then you could do your due diligence. I mean, look, it's a shitty situation we're in, and you have to realize how bad of a situation we're in.
He's 80 years old, man. Bring back Phil Regan, have him be the manager.
I'd be down with it.
Look, Phil Regan, he was horrible.
He was a good pitching coach.
Jeez, because
you guys have
decent pitchers.
Ricky Bones, as long as it's not Kevin Long.
Look, you just have to hire someone for the. I agree. You have to hire someone for the year being just as a placeholder because you got to have someone familiar with this team because it's already January and
it's depressing
because Sox are their quotes win now.
But they do have a good roster, and Beltran was going to be a good manager.
And now you have to kind of throw away a year if it's a whole new fucking.
Look, if you're a player on this team, you got to realize, all right, we got to rally around each other and we got to get something done because we're in a shitty situation, but we just got to get through it.
My thing with that is they have the perfect leader for that because Pete Alonso knows how to get these guys together, and he's entering into his second year. I think he's going to have a big year. I think he's going to be the quote unquote captain. I think it's going to be a good year for Pete Alonso, and hopefully the guys rally around him because honestly, he might be more of a coach than whoever they hire the rest of the year.
And hopefully you get some leadership from Robinson Cano since he's had a long career.
Now, there being 3 teams, obviously 3 high-level teams that are looking for managers, I think this is kind of like ridiculous and kind of like scary when you think about who's going to be the manager of the New York Mets. Now, if I were to pick a manager, I think the best guy for the job is Buck Showalter. This guy, I mean, with Baltimore, he had very good teams, and then towards the end, he had very young teams. And this guy is a leader. He's somebody you look up to. He's a good role model. That's somebody who you could put in there, and he pays attention to sports. I think that's somebody who would be great.
At first, he wasn't really interested, but now since he got an interview with the Astros, I think so he might be looking towards the Astros, more of a win now team than the Mets, which is a more not a rebuild but a retooling team. So I don't expect Buck Showalter to become the Mets manager, but yes, he is a good candidate.
I don't think Buck will take the job. I don't think they'll want him. I think Brody kind of wants someone who he can like kind of control, which is why they wanted a first-year manager to begin with. So a guy like Buck Showalter, who's been in the league for 20 years, he's not going to push over and he's not going to roll over for Brody to say, "Oh, I want this guy. I want Cespedes to start 3 games in a row." If some situation, he's not going to be pushed over like a Beltran would.
Yeah, I think that Showalter is more likely to take the Astros job or the Red Sox job. I think the Astros.
I think if he doesn't get the Red Sox or Astros job, he's just going to sit out.
And the Mets didn't even interview him when they first.
They didn't want him back then. They're not going to.
Do you know because they have a vision? They want to go with the first-time manager.
I think I'll be shocked if it's not Rojas. In my opinion, and my wild card is Collins. That's what I'm hoping for. But Rojas, it wouldn't be the worst.
I think there's a better chance that they hire A-Rod than Terry.
Or Hensley Mullins, maybe.
A-Rod would be a phenomenal.
Hensley
Mullins. Wasn't Mullins?
He's the bench coach.
Yeah.
Mets. He was with the Giants.
Didn't he interview with the Yankees?
Yeah, he was the Yankees runner-up.
God. Oh my God.
He can speak like 20 languages.
I don't want that guy. I can't even say his name.
That was Corey Jace's pick. When was on the lead back then. Well, let's move on from baseball. Let's move on to some football. You guys want to do LSU or the Browns first?
We'll do some LSU first.
Let's talk about LSU and the college football playoff final. I really was happy that LSU won because I predicted that. I predicted them to cover, and I think Joe Burrow had the best season in college football history.
I'll get to that in a second, but yeah, obviously Denny D's lock of the week. I don't run away from my locks and being wrong. I'll talk about Clemson plus 5.5, and obviously they didn't hit, but they started the game as well as they could have. Pinning back LSU and Joe Burrow, their defense was playing great, making stops, getting some good pressure, and their offense was rolling early. And then once she just kicked it off to Joe Burrow, and he got it rolling from the 25-yard line, he was throwing dimes downfield to these receivers, and there's going to be so many players in this NFL draft drafted from LSU because that roster was absolutely incredible.
Now, I got the pick right. I mean, when you look at college sports, it's a lot different from football because, you know what? I'm 2-6 with my football picks this year, but all I got to say is I think that Joe Burrow, he's been my Pablo Power Player of the Week. This guy, he's had a phenomenal season. He's going to have a season that's going to be looked up and it's going to be compared to for a lot of years to come. This guy, he did what he does best, man. He made the other team look really bad. Trevor Lawrence did not bring it this week, and to be honest, it's one of his worst performances he's had in his young career. But it's not over for this guy. Next year, he's the leading candidate to go number 1 in that draft. So I really do think that
the future is bright for both of them.
The future is very bright for both of them, and Joe Burrow, that kid's going to be somebody.
I don't want to say yet. I think it's a little too soon to crown Joe Burrow the best college quarterback of all time, and especially just one season. I mean, look at last season.
Overall career,
not career. You could say season, but then you got to look at Cam Newton, his year.
I think he had the best passing season.
I would take Joe Burrow's season
maybe not total.
You take Joe Burrow's season over Cam Newton's. I don't know. I think
Burrow
Cam
broke
Newton
the passing touchdown record.
Yes.
Well, he doesn't run like Cam.
Yeah.
Newton.
Cam Newton's season.
He still runs though.
Yeah, but not nearly.
Of course,
not Cam.
But still,
Cam on that was a 2011 Auburn team. He was absolutely dominant. He looked like a man amongst boys on that team. You knew just looking at that guy that he was going to be a success in the NFL.
It's a different type of dominance.
And yes, it was a more physical type of dominance. And his passing was good on Auburn. You could look up the stats. But yes, his rushing attack was a little different than Joe Burrow this year.
But also, Joe Burrow, look at the teams he beat this year.
I know, he beat
Texas,
7 top 8
Oklahoma.
teams.
Yeah, insane. He beat Auburn, Cam Newton's alma mater. And he also had to win 2 bowl games instead of 1, which Cam only had to win the BCS title.
Yeah, I would. Yes, but Auburn's string of events going in that year, they just bulldozed everyone. Not saying LSU didn't, but when you compare this LSU 2019-2020 team to all the teams in history of college football that have been the best, yes, they're in the conversation, most definitely. But I mean, last year when Clemson won it, they went 15-0. Everyone was like, well, that team's the best of all time. So let's give it a couple years. Like, let's let these teams sink in and compare them in a few years because after every team goes 15-0,
always recency bias.
It's going to be recency bias. Exactly. And everyone's going to say, oh, this team's the best team of all time. This team. LSU's track record was very good this year. Don't get me wrong. One of the best we've ever seen in our lifetimes. But let's give it a few years.
Yeah, I would definitely, in my opinion, I take that LSU team over the Clemson team, and not just because they beat them. I think this year's Clemson team wasn't as good as last year's Clemson
it wasn't,
team.
no.
But I think this year's LSU team would have even beat that last year's Clemson team, in my opinion. Also, with LSU, there's some controversy with Odell Beckham Jr. handing out money. There's a lot of controversy surrounding Odell Beckham Jr. this week. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
I don't think what he did alone is really a problem, but in context with who he is and the track record that he's had, is that he's the kind of player that there's always going to be eyes on him. There's always going to be people paying extra attention to him. So you can't, knowing what they're going to do, how they're going to spin it, you cannot do that. I mean, and with no context whatsoever, it's not a big deal. He handed out money. Most of the, I'm saying besides like one player, I think they're all entering the draft, so they're not student athletes anymore at that point.
It doesn't violate any.
I mean, morally, no, that means nothing. But I mean, technically, yes, they're the NCAA is gonna look into that. That's gonna be a problem.
Well, when it comes,
so you have to kind of know before that.
When it comes to Odell Beckham Jr., he's always gonna have the media attention on him, and he realizes that. And him in the locker room, the media especially are saying, "Oh, he wanted to make this all on him, this LSU win," and that's completely bullshit. Everyone from the media likes to shit on Odell Beckham Jr. And I'm sure Pablo's going to, in a few seconds, talk about how much he hates Odell Beckham Jr. But he was just drunk, man. He was just drunk. Look at Kevin Hart at that Super Bowl. He was drunk trying to get on stage. Did Kevin Hart make it about himself? No. Kevin Hart and Odell Beckham Jr. are two different people with the media. And I get the attention with Odell Beckham Jr., but with the cash and everything.
And Odell Beckham is not.
But with the cash and everything, I thought it was kind of funny, man. Yeah. Like, all these guys are going to the draft, give them some money. Who cares? It's pocket change for OBJ. The NCAA should just piss off with all this.
They should, but
it's annoying.
But they technically can't. They have to at least look into it.
And the fact that the New Orleans Police Department is issuing a warrant for arrest on Odell Beckham Jr. from spanking a cop.
Simple battery.
Yeah. A simple battery?
They tried to get sexual battery.
Yeah, which is absolutely ridiculous.
He was drunk, and it wasn't like a harmful thing. He wasn't trying to hurt the guy. No. He was just messing. I mean, it was disrespectful, but I mean, it wasn't like
he should apologize.
It wasn't really anything like illegal or anything where he should really get arrested.
He's just being a drunk idiot.
The cop should have got pissed and made him apologize or something like that.
I had more of a problem with them getting pissed about the smoking the cigars thing and not letting them celebrate. But my thing with Odell Beckham Jr. is, man, you gotta be smarter than that.
Yeah, no, he has to know. He has to know that there's always someone recording. There's always eyes on him. So
exactly.
You can't do that.
I get it that it's tough with all the media and everything. I get it that
it's like he's seeking for it. It's like he's looking for it.
He has to know by now.
It's been 6 years.
You got to grow up.
Yeah, he's not a younger player anymore.
If it's your second year in the league and it's the first time you've ever been a superstar, sure, you can act out sometimes.
If you saw after the game, he's running over, pounding on the wall as hard as he can.
Crazy.
I'm like, yeah, I guess you're excited and stuff, but you gotta know who you are. You see Matthew McConaughey when Texas wins, he's not going around to the wall, slamming it, like passing out money.
It's two different personalities.
I know it is, but at the same time,
you can have his personality and still not, and just still be aware that this is gonna happen. Mm-hmm. This is the backlash that you're gonna get no matter what you do.
What the repercussions will be.
Yeah.
And I've been drunk a lot, and I've never had the idea to go slap a cop on his ass or anything.
Well, you're not Odell Beckham Jr.
I think that was pretty
dumb. You would get your ass kicked if you did that. Odell Beckham Jr. is not getting his ass kicked.
That was pretty dumb.
It was dumb.
I can't really defend that. I think it's even worse that they're issuing a warrant for his arrest.
Yeah, no, that's completely blown out of proportion.
All right, Steve. I've let you guys talk, but I have to interrupt. What is something you just said? Grow up. Odell Beckham Jr. has never grown up. This guy will never grow up. This guy is a guy who's been in the league since 2013?
Yeah.
He's been in the league for a few years, and this guy, I feel like every year there's a new story. There's another story that comes out that this guy is doing a foolish move, another move like this, just to create some buzz. I honestly think it's to get people to like him. This guy, he's handing out money. He's like, oh, look at me, man. I'm trying to be good. These guys, they don't make enough money in college. This is what I'm going to give them. I'm going to give them money. Now, I have no problem with that, but being a good person is doing things when nobody's watching. Now, I don't understand why this guy has to go and do that, knowing that all the eyes are going to be on him, knowing that everybody is going to judge him. And I don't care if he was drunk. I don't give a shit what he was. This guy is a joke. He is a complete joke to his franchise, all the other franchises, everybody that supports this guy, even the fans that like this guy are a complete joke. I hate everything about Odell Beckham Jr. He sucks. He sucks. And you want to know something, Steve? the audacity that this guy has to assault a police officer like that. I honestly, I have no words.
Wait, you really just said he assaulted him?
Absolutely.
A spank on the butt is assault.
Okay,
absolutely.
Well,
have you seen cops beat the shit out of people?
Pablo, okay,
it's a spank.
Listen. Pablo does work in a prison. What would you? This is obviously
it's different if an inmate does it.
But what would you do if an inmate came up to you and slapped you on the ass?
That's assault. We have to handle it accordingly.
Oh my God.
And to be honest, my God,
take a joke, man. He's drunk and he's celebrating in a locker room with kids. And the police
How can he
slapped him lightly on the face. It's a little tap in the butt.
Yeah, he tapped him on the butt.
He wound up. And
he wound up. That's a drunk wound up, though.
It was premeditated.
He was staring at that.
You want to know something? And you guys are right. And it's a double standard. If one of you guys did that, you would be
get dropped.
Absolutely, you'd get dropped.
But you'd be in handcuffs
Odell
within
Beckham
5
Jr.,
minutes.
Obviously he's not being dropped.
He knows that there's less consequences
and
with the law.
It's ridiculous. This guy, he's never going to stop.
But what's the cop doing before that? He's checking around with all these grown men. I don't care if they're 19, 20 years old, with cigars and checking to see if there's alcohol. Dude, they just won the national championship. They're 300-pound men. You're telling me they can't have a beer after they win at 19 or 20 years old? I don't care if it's the law. Tell this guy to piss off and let them have fun.
Hey,
they won a national championship.
Sure, but you don't know if he's following orders or not.
That's my
his
thing.
boss can say, "Hey, they're smoking cigars in the locker room."
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I think that whoever's in charge made a horrible mistake because that was a bad idea. And I don't care if it was a little cigar was not going to set off a smoke detector at the fucking Superdome.
Because no one's looking around.
Exactly. And you're going to tell me that the Saints never smoked a cigar after a game or something? They've never partied after a game or something. It's just ridiculous to me that was even that situation even happened. But the way that it was handled by Odell Beckham Jr. was just a little childish to me.
All right, I want to try something new. I want to have Z take a reaction to this.
So I'm on the mic right now, and so what you're gonna say is Odell Beckham is above the law, then? Because I agree with Pablo here.
You agree with Pablo?
I agree with Pablo. That is assault, and it
have you seen the video?
Yes, I have. I actually read into this morning. It was top of my news feed. I will agree with Pablo here. This is assault. It doesn't matter who you are. Pablo has a good point. What if Steve wanted to go do that to a cop?
Then he would get dropped.
So
but
why
Steve is it's a double. We all agreed that it's a double standard.
Yeah, so Odell Beckham should be getting charged.
Sure, but not a warrant for his arrest. Find the man. He's throwing away money.
If he gets a fine, that's gonna be. He's
gonna get a fine regardless.
It was petty. It was like petty battery. It was like simple battery. You're not getting put in handcuffs for that.
Listen, it's the new.
If you put him on handcuffs on the spot, this isn't a problem. I mean, it would be a problem, but there would be no warrant for the arrest. If the cop wanted to do something about it, do it then in person. Don't wait to the next day and then set a warrant out for his arrest.
The thing is, though, if he arrested OBJ in that locker room, you know how big of a scene that would have caused with the entire LSU team in there?
I have to agree with that because I think that would have been a way worse look for the cops and for Odell Beckham Jr. Imagine if Odell Beckham Jr. is out here celebrating, handing out cash and shit, and then in the middle of the locker room he gets put in handcuffs or something. I think that's a little worse than what's happening now.
Well, you want to know something? As crazy as it sounds, I think that's something Odell would have loved. He would have absolutely ate up.
No,
absolutely.
No, he would have got. He could have borderline get cut from the Browns.
He probably would have gotten.
If he's on video getting put in handcuffs in the LSU locker room,
you think he would have loved that?
He would not have loved
crazy?
that.
How think he would have loved to be in handcuffs?
You think he's that much of an attention whore?
Absolutely.
You have.
He is an attention whore.
That would have cost him millions of dollars.
Listen, he's not Antonio Brown. But man, that's a different story.
Antonio Brown, you can argue.
Do you want to know something?
Antonio Brown.
There are so many people out there, and I don't want to talk about this. There's so many people out there who hate police officers, and there are so many people out there who are going to defend Odell Beckham Jr. for doing what he did. Oh, this guy was just a little bit drunk. Well, a lot of people would defend the fact that he got put in handcuffs, and they would be like, "Whoa, why are you putting this guy in handcuffs? It's not that big of a deal." It would be the same thing, and to be honest, I think that would have worked out kind of in his favor because more people would have been behind him because it kind of would have looked worse for him.
But it would have looked worse for his employers.
Yeah,
I think it already looks worse for his employers. There's a warrant out for your best player.
They're both poor, but I mean,
not this year. He wasn't their best player.
I'm not denying that that's like a disrespectful thing. Yeah, that he should have apologized. He has to realize his place. But yes, his cloud is filled of alcohol. You know, his mind is
his judgment is very poor. It
doesn't matter.
But it's different. You are
look at
an NFL
you
wide
should not. He
receiver.
should have been in that situation where he was even thinking
about
it.
He should have never even been in that locker room. And that's it.
LSU means a lot to him, and that
he's not a player.
It doesn't matter. He's an alumni.
Alumni get really into it. There's plenty of alumni who have partied with championship teams.
They all went out. The LSU team all went out to a bar after, and all the alumni came with them. So
I don't have a problem with that, but when you're in that locker room, you gotta act
there's a million
little
cameras.
differently.
There's a million cameras.
Exactly. You know you're gonna be on camera. You know something's gonna happen. Just don't smack the cop's ass next time. I have more of a problem with that than I do with the money thing. I think
I don't think everyone's on the same page.
That was more of a
with
joke.
The money,
with the money thing.
Yeah.
I have no problem with that. But the cop thing, just use your goddamn head, Odell. Because I've seen this guy in the beginning of his career when he was just playing and there was no antics. There was nobody more exciting in the whole league. In the whole league.
He was just trying to defend. He's just trying to defend all those kids that were getting searched after a national championship game.
You don't defend by smacking the cop in his ass. You can go talk to him.
You could have gotten in his face or something and like said, "What the hell are you doing?"
He just looked him up and down
and then started dancing.
Do you see his eyes? They're looking in two different directions.
Yeah, no, he was drunk.
He was drunk.
Obviously, he was drunk.
He deserved some like repercussions. But I mean, a warrant that's a lot.
A warrant is ridiculous.
That's like he killed a man.
Yeah, it is a little attention seeking, and he didn't have to do it through
That's
the
how
news,
it goes.
But,
All right, let's move on.
Let's move on to the real NFL news. Get Odell Beckham Jr. off the headlines. We're going to talk about the conference championships this weekend because there's some good-ass games on this weekend. So let's start with the AFC because that's up first. Who do you guys got this week? It's the Titans on the road facing off against the Chiefs. Titans shocked the world last week. So, Andrew, who do you have for this game?
This is the 1 week where the Titans are close. Like, this is the closest the Titans have ever been, like, opposed to being 10, 9-point underdogs. What if it's 7.5? 7. Okay, so a 7-point underdog is the most they've ever been favored in the eyes of Vegas. So I think this is the 1 week that Tennessee doesn't actually perform the big upset that they're expected now, because people expect this to happen. The Chiefs have one of the worst run defenses in football. So, I mean, in theory, the Titans should be able to go into Arrowhead and just run the hell out of the ball and just do it exactly what they did against the Ravens and the Patriots, just run down their throat. But I think this Kansas City team is special. I think that defense is playing a lot better.
Yep.
They came down from 24-0? 24-0 in like 5 minutes. They came back and it was
I think they scored 3 touchdowns in 3:30.
It was insane. Watching the Chiefs come back after that first touchdown, you knew they were going to come back because Patrick Mahomes is special. And he needs to get – I need to see Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. So I'm picking the Chiefs.
Yeah, but the Chiefs, watching the Titans play the Ravens last week, everyone was like, oh, the Ravens, really high-scoring attack. The Titans are going to have to keep up with them. But that was not the case at all. They shut down the Ravens. But that might be on a little bit of...
But the Ravens, they moved the ball, and they just stalled out in the
I think they had 10 drives or 11 drives that went into Titans territory that ended with no
ball.
points.
They just didn't make the right plays
That's
at the right time.
the bend but don't break defense, and the Titans perfected it last week.
I know who you're going to
But that's also called bad coaching by John Harbaugh. Because there's field goals to kick. You can't think about winning the game. You got to stay in the game, and they didn't do that. But going with this week, I'm going to start with Danny D's lock of the week, and we're going to go with the Chiefs -7 in this game. The Titans, I think it just ends. They've been playing some great football. I can't deny that. But this is going to be too big of a moment for them. And the Chiefs' offense, like I said last week, and I picked the Ravens because I thought their offense was going to kill it. The Chiefs' offense is just as good, if not even better, this postseason. And when you tell me Patrick Mahomes is on the field, and judging from last week, that's one of the best quarterback performances I've ever seen in the playoffs. That was absolutely spectacular what he did. The Chiefs are going to keep rolling. The Titans like to be that underdog. They're playing the underdog mentality. This is going to be a very hostile environment, but give me the Chiefs -7 this week as my lock of the week.
Now, Dan, there's one thing you said there that stuck out to me, and you said, I think this just ends. You think this magical run by the Titans just ends. The Chiefs are going to end it. That's it. Throw it away like it never happened.
Yep.
No trophy to show
It's
for
too
it.
big of a moment for the Titans, in my opinion.
Now, I thought it was too big of a moment last week. And you know me. I've been on this Titans train all towards the end of the season because of Ryan Tannehill and because of I just love the way that Derrick Henry's been playing. And I was a little too weary to pick them last week. I thought I'd go with the Vikings, and I couldn't go with 2 number 6 seeds. The Titans played one of the best games last week that I've seen all year.
Yeah.
And they didn't even have to throw 100 yards to do it.
The last 2 weeks, they haven't even done it. Yeah.
This week, Ryan Tannehill shows up. He already beat the Chiefs this year. Derrick Henry already beat the Chiefs this year. The Titans already beat the Chiefs. I get that it was in Tennessee, but they know how to do it. They got the blueprint. They've shown they can keep up with them. They've shown they can score with them. I think this game's a little different. I don't think it's as high scoring. I think this is a low scoring defense and run game, and I think that the Tennessee Titans are going to go to the Super Bowl. They're going to beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead. Derrick Henry is going to just carry the Titans all the way to the Super Bowl. I don't know if they'll win it, but they're gonna make it.
I
The
can't
Tennessee Titans are
imagine.
going to the Super Bowl.
I can't imagine the Titans in the Super Bowl. That's a Super Bowl I would not want to watch.
Steve,
that would be an ugly Super
you
Bowl.
want to know something? That's a hot take.
It is a hot take.
And I couldn't agree
Hot
with
take
you
alert.
anymore. And
Wow.
I
like it.
I do think that Derrick Henry, this guy, he is somebody that cannot be stopped. And I picked against him last week. You know, I had, the Ravens going all the way. I had them going to the bowl. But this guy, he's going to go in there and he's going to be so much for that Chiefs, to kind of like stop. And I think he's going to be the guy. He was my Pablo Power Player of the Week last week, even though I really didn't think he was going to be that guy this week. I didn't think he had it. But you know what? This team is the underdog. And going forward, this is the guy that next week, when we do our episode next week for episode 7, we're going to be like, whoa, look at that performance. And you guys just going to have to see, because as of right now, you don't understand it. You don't know what's about to come. Patrick Mahomes, yeah, he's a great quarterback. He's legendary. His father played in the MLB, but he is just not ready, and his team is not ready to win this week.
Do you think Mike Vrabel wants to win a Super Bowl after what he said? His bet, or not his bet, but he said, we'll cut it off if we win a Super Bowl. I think a lot of people are going to be calling for the cut it off.
He doesn't want to have to face that decision, so he might throw the towel in this.
They're going to make it, but I don't know if so he might be able to keep
Listen, I honestly would be all for the Titans making the Super Bowl. I would be fine with that. But, I mean, going into the playoffs, my prediction was Chiefs-Niners. So, I mean, little foreshadow.
Hey,
but
we got the Chiefs
I got to stick with my guys.
Side and the Titans side on this side.
I mean, everybody wanted to see Chiefs-Ravens, but that's just not going to happen. And right now, you guys are just, you're picking against the Titans because you really don't believe they should be here, but they are here and they are real.
I never said they shouldn't be here. They deserve to be here. I was wrong about them the last 2 weeks. They played a hell of a ball game last week. They deserve to be here more than anybody else.
They definitely deserve, because obviously they won, but I'm still skeptical on them. And last week, I have to give a quick shout out to my sister, Sarah, who was trying to force me to take Titans money line. And I was kind of laughing to myself. I'm like, I'm not wasting money on that. Why would I even think about that, And then just the way that game started, my jaw was just dropped. I couldn't believe what was happening. But I'm still a skeptical person of the Titans on this team. I just don't think they have it to beat the Chiefs, and I think the Chiefs are going to win big.
I got a bold prediction. Derrick Henry is going to score 2 touchdowns and rush for 194 yards.
That'd be about an average game for him this playoffs.
Listen, I mean, that'd be kind of impressive to do it basically.
It would be very impressive.
And I also think A.J. Brown's going to have a good game. He hasn't really been there the last couple weeks. But Khalif Raymond, the former New York Giant player, actually had a big touchdown against the Ravens. I think that A.J. Brown's going to have a good game because the Chiefs' secondary is a little suspect. I know Tyrann Mathieu's there, but they ain't really got much else. I think they're going to do good. And I know Steve Spagnuolo is their defensive coordinator, so I love that Chiefs team. I won't be mad if I'm wrong because I really appreciate seeing them go this far again, and they should have been there last year. If there wasn't
Andy Reid also deserves a Super Bowl.
Andy Reid deserves a shot.
One last thing is that the last 2 teams that the Titans have played, both teams got really bad quarterback play, with Lamar Jackson having his worst game probably all year, and Tom Brady having a terrible game, didn't throw a touchdown pass. I don't see Patrick Mahomes having that bad of a game. So, I mean, if Patrick Mahomes puts up 300 yards and 2 or 3 touchdowns, I don't see the Titans keeping up with that.
One thing,
he's easily the toughest. He's the toughest passing. I know. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry. One thing, my key to the game here is if the Kansas City Chiefs get off hot, start off hot, get a lead, they can't be running Derrick Henry to the ground because they're not trying to kill clock. They're not trying to, move the ball slowly. They're going to have to be scoring quick. And if this becomes a shootout, you got to tell me, is Ryan Tannehill going to be the guy to lead them to a shootout victory?
That's what we said last week.
And I think that the Titans
can. And I understand.
Go either way.
I think he proved it the first time they faced off. It was a shootout, and the Titans won it. Tannehill threw for 400 yards.
Yes, but this is a bigger stage. This isn't in Nissan Stadium with 20,000 fans.
Tannehill's playing with house money. He has nothing to lose. He was a backup for 6 weeks.
All right, guys. So I actually do have a question, which kind of ties into this week. This comes from my buddy, shout out Sonny's Grill in Belmar. Anthony La Tempa, he says, I want to bet the house on one of the games this weekend. Should I take the Titans? Now, would you guys be willing to risk it all and put, I don't know, let's say 500 beans, 500 bones on the Titans winning the Chiefs?
Now, I don't know if I am 500 beans confident in the Titans. Yes. I think that my next pick I might be a little more confident in, but it wouldn't be the worst bet. I mean, You would have won some big money if you did it last week, and I think that the Titans. I think this matchup with the Chiefs is a better matchup for them than the Ravens were, and they went into Baltimore and they stomped them out. So I think that they got momentum, and I think that this could bode well for them.
Pablo, do you know what a lock of the week means to you?
I don't. What does it mean?
It means it's a lock. It's going to happen.
It means it's cold right now.
It means
the lock of the week is.
It means that I should put down $500 on the Chiefs, and if they win, I win no money.
No. Okay. I'm talking spread. I'm a spread guy. You're getting close to 450 on that.
For a 7-point underdog, this is the most I've ever liked the team to actually win. It would not shock me at all if the Titans win. I picked the Chiefs, but I think 7 points is crazy, so I think the Titans cover that. I think there's a decent chance they win. So for the odds for the Titans to win outright, I think the odds are worth it to put some money on it.
I could see. I'm gonna contradict myself a little bit here. I wouldn't put the house on the Titans, but I would sprinkle a little money on their money line because it might be plus 250,
like
275, something like that. So there is some money to be made there. But obviously, what I said, lock of the week, Chiefs -7.
Well, from one championship game to another, let's move on to the NFC. The Packers and the 49ers, a rematch of a game from earlier this year, just like the first one. So let's hear the picks for this game. Andrew, start us off.
Is it also a 7-point line for that, or is it
7.5?
Okay, 7.5. That half point is huge. I do think the Niners cover and win this game. I think they're just the way they played them last time when they played. They just killed them. It's hard to kill a team twice like that, so it'd be tough for them to win by more than a touchdown. But I mean, this Niners team is really well balanced. I mean, Jimmy G isn't lighting the world on fire, but he's doing enough. He's making enough plays to win these games. Their running game is phenomenal. The Packers have a pretty weak run defense. That defense is scary with Nick Bosa. That's just Quan Alexander back. I just don't see that team getting stopped by the Packers.
Yeah, I don't really like the Packers line this year, so they're going to have a big test. Aaron Rodgers is going to be running a lot, but like you said, that last game that they played was just an embarrassment for Packers fans, and there's no way that's going to happen again. Aaron Rodgers has a lot to prove. I know he has a storied career, and he's going to go down as one of the best quarterbacks of all time, talent-wise, maybe not accomplishments. But this game, he has a lot to prove here. If he were to beat the Niners, he would shut up a lot of critics, including me, because I've been on Aaron Rodgers all season. I don't think he's been that great of a quarterback. He has a lot to prove to me and the world in this game. But for the pick, I'm going to take the Niners to win, but I'm going to take the Packers to cover.
So I got two things here. One thing is Aaron Rodgers called in the Dan Le Batard show today, and your boy Chris Jericho was on the Le Batard show as well.
Hey.
And Dan Le Batard just ripped into him. He said about how Aaron Rodgers had a horrible game against the Niners the first time they played. Mm-hmm. And he did. He threw 4 interceptions. He barely threw for 100 yards. A terrible game.
Terrible.
And then they all said, how can you correct that? How can you have a better game this week? Is there any chance? And he was like, Chris Jericho, I'm going to talk to you right here. He said, Chris, have you ever had a match with somebody and it just went terrible? Nothing went right. It was a terrible match. 1 star. Nothing went right. And then the next time you went out there, you went out and you killed it. And it was 5-star. It was awesome. It was a great match. Aaron Rodgers is going to go out there. He's going to have an amazing game. This is the team that passed on him for Alex Smith. This game means everything to Aaron Rodgers. He's from California.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to go out there. He's going to light it up because that's what they're going to need to do because they're not going to be able to keep track with that run game.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Jones is going to have a good game. Devontae Adams, he's going to be against Richard Sherman, and I think that he's going to have a good game. I think Sherman's playing a little over his head right now, honestly.
Yeah, after last week.
He's having a fantastic season, and I can see that, but this isn't Kirk Cousins. As much as Aaron Rodgers isn't Kirk Cousins. Aaron Rodgers is due for one of these games. He is a playoff quarterback. He had a good game last week, and I think he's going to have a great game this week. And I think the Green Bay Packers are going to win this week and go
so you got Packers Titans.
I have a Packers
that
Titans.
Would be such a
That's
goofy game.
Goofy, a weird. Most people might not even be interested in that Super Bowl.
No.
The uniform matchup, honestly, it's an ugly ass uniform matchup. But this has been an ugly, weird year for the NFL.
I mean, I think
fitting, it fits. Yeah. And I did pick the Packers as my Super Bowl champion in the beginning of the year. So that's what I'm sticking with. I think the Packers are going to win this week. I won't pick them as my champion yet. I'll save that for in 2 weeks if I'm going to pick them. But they're going to win this game.
2 7-point dogs you're taking. Wow.
I'm taking both underdogs. So if you're going to bet anything.
Steve, you know what? That was beautifully said. And I couldn't agree with you anymore.
They just killed your Seahawks, man. Come on.
You want to know
Have
something?
a backbone.
Steve, you got to be nervous that this kid is 3-6. And now he's on both your picks. You should be nervous.
One side of the table is going to be right. One side of the table is going to be happy next week.
Or we could be 1-1. You never know.
Oh yeah, good point.
All right, so all I got to say is, I've been picking against Aaron Rodgers. I love this guy, man. You know, he's the epitome of a reliable quarterback and somebody who has been able to keep up in this, very hard and tough league. And I agree with what you have to say. He's going home. He's going, to play against a team that passed up on him many years back. And this guy, I think, is going to go in there and he's going to show up some people, and he's going to show Jerry G. He's going to show him that he's a real quarterback. He is the real quarterback in this competition. And you want to know something? When you look at the 4 quarterbacks that are left in this NFL right now, I got to say Aaron Rodgers is probably the best.
You think Aaron Rodgers is better than Jerry G?
I think he's better than Jerry G. And
Jimmy G, right? You see, he hates him so much he doesn't even know his first name.
I said Jimmy G. Anyway,
you did it.
Anyway,
No, you
all right,
didn't.
all right. Real quick, Zonak, let's get your picks. Who you're picking this Sunday?
Already put money on the 49ers and the Chiefs, so.
Oh, so you're
Taking the
on your
two
guys'
favorites.
side.
Yep, I'm on
Z's picks have been hot lately, so
Yes, he's been
I'm very confident in my picks now.
I'd rather have Z than Pablo on my side. I'll take that.
all I got to say is,
Wait, Z, can you put the camera on you? Test that out.
Yeah, I could.
No.
Oh,
There
hey,
he
what's up?
is. Zonak is making his appearance.
Oh, man, I look
Team
good here.
Gryffindor.
Yeah.
I got Gryffindor to cover the 7.5 spread.
All right, so Zonak, Andrew, and Dan are going with the Chiefs 49ers Super Bowl, which would be a great Super Bowl.
Yep.
Me and Pablo are going with the Packers and the Titans.
I will put this note out here that I would not be shocked at all if it's Chiefs Packers for that year 100 rematch.
And that would be a great story.
It would be such a corny story
But
though.
it
it
would
would
be
be
a good
cool,
game.
but I mean,
Oh man,
it
they
would be
would
such an
blow it
overblown.
out
They
of
would eat
proportion.
that up, and I'd be sick of it after
That's why I
like a
think
couple days.
the Titans are just gonna. What they're doing this year, they're just ruining everything.
They're ruining everything.
They ruined
for
the
NFL.
Patriots'
The
dynasty.
NFL.
They
Like,
ruined Lamar Jackson's amazing season.
Yep.
They're gonna ruin the possible Patrick Mahomes Super Bowl. Everything.
the Cinderella story only travels so far with the NFL. They don't want the Titans in the Super Bowl. They're
they don't.
praying the Chiefs make the Super Bowl.
You know how marketable it is to throw Patrick Mahomes on a Super Bowl?
I don't want to give away my pick
State
for the
Farm
Super
Bowl.
Bowl, but all I got to say is the Titans took down Tom Brady. They took down Lamar Jackson.
But the MVPs never went to the Super Bowl.
They're gonna take down Patrick Mahomes. And you want to know what? I don't want to say this. This might be a bold prediction, a little bit too early. They're gonna have to take down Aaron Rodgers if they want to win it all.
That would rival.
We know that.
That would rival. That would
made your
rival
picks,
the New
man.
York Giants Super Bowl run
Yeah,
as
it
the
would
greatest
be-
one of
yeah.
all time.
I mean, what Eli Manning did those years is way more than what Tannehill has done
Oh,
so
of
far.
course.
So I mean, it's
You don't
different.
know that,
it's different
actually.
styles. Yeah, you don't know. He can still win.
But Derrick Henry.
Derrick
Derrick
Henry
Henry
would
would be a man against boys.
And he already is,
he already is. But I mean, he would cement himself as one of the craziest running back years of all time.
It's crazy to think that Derrick Henry's been in the league for what 3-4 years,
Mhm.
right? At least something like
Yeah.
that. What happened with his first 2 years?
He was the backup to DeMarco Murray.
Yeah,
And
even
last year, the first half of last year,
Yeah.
they gave Deion Lewis more touches than
Listen,
Derrick Henry. It was
who are
insane.
making these
It was
decisions?
insane.
Who
Mike
was
Vrabel was.
Well, last
No,
year.
last year it was
It was
the Packers
LaFleur.
head
It was
coach Matt
LaFleur,
LaFleur.
Yeah.
So
Unbelievable to think that Derrick Henry is a bench running back. Just look at the guy. Look at him against Mark
never
Ingram
know,
in
man.
that
Well, every
picture.
single scout said it wasn't going to translate to the
Well,
NFL.
also-
That's why he went
Oh, it's
late second
translating.
round.
go
It's
back
translated.
and get the receipts because I was Derrick Henry's biggest fan at that
Of
draft,
course
and
you
I
were.
wanted him
Well,
with the
we can
Giants.
get
so
some other receipts
badly.
too from your past takes.
I know Reuben Foster. I wanted
Daniel Jones,
Daniel Jones. Okay, yeah,
Reuben
but maybe
Foster.
Reuben Foster not going to play ever again.
You were begging for
Yeah,
Reuben
yeah,
Foster.
There's one more thing in the NFL we got to talk about
Yes, let's
is
do it quick.
the Browns hiring Kevin Stefanski, who was the Vikings offensive coordinator. And I have a little theory with this. Looking back at the 2017 championship game against the Eagles, Pat Shurmur was interviewing with the Giants before the game happened, and obviously they come out flat. Kevin Stefanski interviewing with the Browns, probably knows he's going to get the job. They play a terrible game on offense. So this is kind of pissing me off that these offensive coordinators that are taking jobs is kind of screwing the Vikings over in these last couple of playoff runs.
Well, that is interesting. I think it's more of a coincidence because you also had Robert Saleh interviewing for the
Yeah.
same job.
Yeah.
And that's who Stefanski
I thought
went
Salah
up
was going to
against.
get it.
I thought Saleh was a better candidate,
Yeah.
but the Browns loved Stefanski last year.
Yep.
They wanted him so badly. Well, Jerry DePodesta wanted him, and of
DePodesta
course they
wanted him,
chose
yeah.
Kitchens. But I think Stefanski, that was the writing was on the wall for that, in my opinion.
I knew it was
going to
happen.
The Browns, unless they got some crazy celebrity coach to come out like Condoleezza Rice or something. But it would be funny.
Mike Francesa went in on that when that happened.
I know that was the most backwards thing ever. But yeah, I think Stefanski is kind of an average hire right now. I can see him bringing a very star-studded staff because they said Wade Phillips is who they're looking at for defensive coordinator. I think he had a great season with Dalvin Cook, and I think he's going to really rely on Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
But my thing is, the reason that they chose Stefanski over Josh McDaniels was because McDaniels wanted to utilize an offense where emphasis was on Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry, but Stefanski wanted to utilize Nick Chubb.
They were built more for that. If they build that lineup, they need it. That's how they're going to win.
But then why make the trade ever?
Why ever? That was a Kitchens trade. That was like Kitchens. Now I'm blanking on the GM's last name. Dorsey. Yeah, it was a Dorsey and Kitchens.
You got rid of an offensive lineman in Zietler, who would have been a great addition.
He's a run blocker. Yeah. He's a mauler. That's perfect for a Nick Chubb offense.
Horrible trade to make.
Kevin Stefanski's no slouch with quarterbacks. Making Kirk Cousins had a great year this year, and he was the QB's coach with
probably his best year ever.
Yeah, with Keenum and everything. So he gets a big reward in this, and I hope Kevin Stefanski really turns this Browns franchise around. Obviously with Baker, I think he's gonna have a good relationship with Baker. But like you said, the emphasis is gonna be on Nick Chubb, gonna be your featured player because he really made Dalvin Cook a superstar in this league this year, and Dalvin Cook had an amazing year. I mean, the last couple of years he was injured. He had the capability, but him implementing Dalvin into the focus of the offense was key for the Vikings this year.
Also, how much of that is attributed to Gary Kubiak?
Yeah,
is what I want to know because
that's what everyone's saying.
Going there,
he was the real brains behind a lot of the operations.
They were saying that Stefanski was just Kubiak's errand boy or something, and he relayed it to the job. But I mean, the Browns liked him a lot, and the Giants even liked Stefanski a lot. And Pat Shurmur thought enough of him to try to get him as the Giants' offensive coordinator, who I really wanted. Of course, we got stuck with Mike Shula because the Vikings denied it.
Yeah, we blocked it for a good reason. I mean, the Vikings were smart about that, and I mean, he deserved the promotion because he was with the Vikings for I think 12 to 13 years in that organization. So I'm not mad that he left. I'm just kind of pissed how the last game went, especially with the Shurmur history as well. But we'll see how he does in Cleveland.
Yeah, I think. Well, let's real quick. Where would you rank that as on the hires? How would you rank these coaching hires?
Personally,
I think I'd put Stefanski at the bottom. I'm not gonna kill the Browns for hiring Stefanski. It just screams like Freddie Kitchens-esque. Like the way he went from QB coach like beginning of last year to now a head coach of an NFL team for the first time. It's a lot. You would think the Browns would want someone with experience. I know it was they were the last one to hire a coach. They probably should have should have jumped on a veteran head coach to begin with. But I mean, I don't know too much about like Stefanski as like a leader and stuff.
Oh, he's a great leader. He's a very
if he's a great leader, that's a good fit. But you don't know that yet because he's never been a head coach before.
He has to prove it.
He's a lot to handle in that locker room.
He was.
So it's a gamble.
That's arguably the most difficult locker room to handle.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. So
well, a lot of the offensive players were vouching for Stefanski when they were doing interviews and talking about Kevin Stefanski. These Vikings players said he is a very good leader, and I mean it showed up on the field of play. But ranking these hires, I mean I've always been Ron Rivera was my favorite hire, and I think Rule, he's got a lot to prove in the NFL. Obviously doing all this with coaching, but I mean at the end of the day, I think Rule's his second best hire.
Also with Rule, he's bringing Joe Brady from LSU with him.
Wonderful hire.
I think it's a good hire, and I would have been very happy to have him as a Giants OC. But he also has a lot to prove in the NFL.
It's a very unproven staff. So
yes,
I mean that could blow up.
It's either going to be one of the best staffs in the NFL, or it could possibly just blow up, and they might be out of the league.
Very different.
Well, they're going to need some.
That Rule he'll get his check for
and
the
they're
going
to get their quarterback because I don't think Cam Newton's going to be
there. There was rumblings that like once he's healthy, they're going to try and trade him.
Yeah.
They're going to need some players
I think they might try to draft somebody. You never know though.
Yeah.
But I don't think I love the hire of Joe Judge, but it'd be asinine to rank him as the best hire.
I mean, Ron Rivera, I think you just look at it. I think most experience.
Ron Rivera was the smartest hire.
McCarthy wasn't a bad hire.
No, but he was a very bland hire.
Yes.
He's no way he's the worst hire. No way he's the best.
I think that this group of hirings in the NFL this year is one of the best group of hirings in a long time.
Yeah.
Every team got the guy they wanted. I mean, the Giants didn't get Rule. That was what they were rumored to want, but they loved Joe Judge. Every guy, I think it was perfect fits all around.
Yeah,
and I think that it's.
I think
all these teams are better now than they were before.
I think if you look back in 3 years from now, it could be completely opposite. It could be a horrible coaching year, but I mean,
looking at it right now,
it looks promising.
Yeah. Well, I mean, every new head coach is going to win the press conference. It always happens.
Unless you hire Adam Gase, then you don't win the press conference, and you don't think
he
it's
might be the only coach in NFL, NBA, NHL history
Gase,
to lose the press conference.
Growing up a Jets fan and hearing hearing all about the Bill Belichick tenure with the Jets, now Carlos Beltran with the Mets. Yeah. It's rough being a Mets and Jets fan. Yeah. So this is not. It's rough. It's rough being
a fan of New York sports.
Well,
it's really tough being a Yankees fan. You're so miserable. You're so sad. You have dealt with a lot of poor teams.
We haven't won in a very long time.
Yeah, you haven't lost in a really long time.
All right, well, we're about an hour in here on Before the Score, so we're gonna just talk real quick, like super quick, about one thing, and that's Rutgers not being ranked this week, which pissed me off. I mean, I think that they should have been ranked, but it's tough to after
because they lost to Illinois.
I know, but dude, this team, I can't say enough about this team. The way they've played this year is just unbelievable, and I'm just really excited as a Rutgers fan.
Yeah, looking at it, look at Pat Hobbs, athletic director, and he hires obviously Steve Peichel. And then he also hires Chris Ash. Thank God he got one of them right, because Chris Ash was terrible. Get Steve Peichel right. Steve Peichel is going to be a Coach of the Year candidate, not only in the Big Ten,
in the whole,
but in
NCAA.
the entire NCAA. This guy, he came from UConn, and he's a Jim Calhoun guy. And Jim Calhoun was always a big rebounding guy, big defensive. He loves his defense. Those are the two things Rutgers does best, Mm-hmm. And with the Big Ten schedule, and we're playing some great teams, the Big Ten is obviously the best conference in basketball by far right now. 10 teams, I think, in the top 40 in net rankings, which is incredible. But if they lost 3 points to Illinois, and that's a tough atmosphere, and that's a young team that they played. And Illinois is very good. I think they're ranked 24th now in the polls.
Yeah.
If they were to beat Illinois, they would have obviously been ranked. I think they got 8 votes, which I thought was a little low.
I do think that was low. I mean, Penn State got more than them.
Yes.
Obviously, that's going to change next week with Penn State losing to Minnesota now, and if Rutgers beats them. But I wasn't happy with that.
Yeah, but beating Indiana at home, obviously a storied franchise. Loved how they wore their old throwback uniforms against such a storied franchise in Indiana. And then on Sunday, right before the polls are voted on Monday. You got Minnesota, who just obviously, like you said, just came off a good win against Penn State. And I think they beat Michigan, too, at home in the barn before. So that's going to be a really good game. They got to beat Minnesota. I think they're not going to be ranked if they lose to Minnesota. It's going to be like the same thing as last week. But if they're 5-2 in the Big Ten, and I think, 15-4, which is ridiculous to think Rutgers is in those categories of numbers. It just makes me so excited. They're going to be ranked. I think they might be ranked top 20.
Yeah, and that would be insane, and it would make me very happy. But real quick, before we get into our question segments to end the show, we forgot to do a segment from earlier in the show. So let's hear Pablo Power Player of the Week this week.
You got one?
Rapid fire.
All right, so
be quick with it.
I actually did bring this up a few segments ago. I said that Henry was
what's his first name? Derrick.
Derrick Henry.
Henry Derrick.
Yeah,
you couldn't repeat with Joe Burrow, so I respect it.
Yeah.
I said that Derrick Henry was the Pablo Power Player of the Week, and this guy, I mean, what more can I say? He took down single-handedly the Ravens, and this guy, man, I'm telling you,
this guy,
man.
Yeah,
I'm telling you,
man.
Yeah, my Samra story of the week. I kind of brought it up before. It's been a big story, but man, Joe Burrow, this guy, just perfect for LSU, perfect season. You can't do it much better than he did this year. Personally, I believe it's the best quarterback season in the history of college football. I know that could be controversial. I know that could be wrong, but that's my opinion. Samra story of the week this week is Joe Burrow, and I expect him to have a great NFL career. He might be the best prospect coming out in a long time. I mean, Trevor Lawrence might buck that trend next year, but man, I'm excited to see this guy.
I think it's going to be interesting to see because he's obviously getting drafted up number 1 overall to the Bengals. And you look at really good quarterbacks that come out number 1 overall and go to bad teams, obviously. You look at Peyton Manning going to the Colts. When Peyton Manning got to the Colts, they were a losing franchise. They had terrible leadership around them. I think Peyton had like 2 or 3 years before he even made the playoffs. I don't know. Like, they made the changes, what I'm trying to say. The Colts made the changes to get Peyton Manning a good roster and, eventually win a Super Bowl. I just don't see the Bengals being that franchise that I think they're just going to waste Burrow's talent. I mean, I hate to say it, but, I mean, he's deservingly number 1 overall pick, but I just don't trust the Bengals front office to make some moves.
I don't think you have to trust the Bengals that much. I think they're going to be like this multiple Super Bowl dynasty that like a superstar quarterback can bring, I don't think they'll be that. I think they'll be very respectable for the next decade. I think Joe Burrow is as close to like him and Trevor Lawrence are perfect quarterback prospects. I think he's a little older for a prospect, so I just think he should be able to go into the league and just hit the ground running and just I think the Bengals will be very improved next year. I think I don't think they'll hold him back that much. I think he'll have a really good career. And
it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, this year, before the year started, we were saying, oh, AFC North, that's going to be such a great division. All right, now give Burrow a year and get the Bengals in the conversation. That's going to be a very good division for these next maybe 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm very excited to see Burrow in the league. I just think he's going to translate very well. You saw him translate from one college program to another college program basically seamlessly.
Yeah.
And I think that Zach Taylor's going to work well with him. If A.J. Green stays there, he's going to have him. I think he's going to – and then you also have Joe Mixon.
You just need to fix that line.
If you fix that line, get Bobby Hart the hell out of there.
That offense give Bobby Hart $30 million or whatever, $25 million.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Well, let's move on to our question segments. This one comes from PK Patel. Let's answer this one real quick. Pablo, do you think you can tackle your Pablo Power Player of the Week, Derrick Henry?
Absolutely. Could I tackle him? Yes.
You think you could?
If he were moving, no. But if he were like still, I'd probably be.
He was like standing still on one leg, probably.
Yeah.
Nah, actually, no.
If he's standing right in this basement, out of 100 times, how many times you taking him down?
Twice.
0.
You just said absolutely.
0.
Now you're giving yourself a what? A 2 out of 100,
shot.
2% chance?
Absolutely. I still did it at least once, right? I don't know.
If you have one chance to take him down.
No. One chance to win like $1 million, you don't think you could do it? You don't think you could muster up the strength?
Within 30 seconds to take
Could
him
even
down.
tackle Zona.
I'm going to tell you what, though. I'm somebody who would try my best. Whether that meant snapping my leg, I would do my best.
You're all talk. I want to see it happen. You're all talk.
You're more of a quarterback anyway, aren't you?
Yeah.
This question comes in from Zach Corby. He wants to know, how does the OBJ arrest, the warrant for his arrest, change your mind on the trade? It hasn't really changed my mind. I've kind of had the same thought on the trade. I think right now you could make a good argument the Giants won the trade.
You have to see what the Giants picks do first.
And I don't think you're gonna.
They got Lawrence out of it, right?
Yeah.
Lawrence, so you have to see how that pans out. It's early. I think just picks wise, I think the Giants made out fine. I think even before this LSU game, just the way that Odell played and how the Browns played, that you can say that trade.
I think it's way too early to gauge a trade.
You can't after one. You can't base it off someone's rookie year for what they did.
So we'll see on that. It doesn't really change my mind. I kind of have the same thoughts on it, but man, it doesn't feel bad seeing OBJ make a fool of himself on another team.
Exactly. It makes you feel like damn, we really dodged the bullet.
It's definitely a little. You would think John Mara would be at home right now if he was on the Giants, freaking the fuck out. So I'm sure the Browns aren't too happy about seeing this.
I'll tell you what, Giants front office is somewhere laughing.
Yeah, basically they're like, this ain't our problem anymore. This question comes from Mike Bertrand. He says college basketball has been wild so far this year. And he wants to know who are our way too early Final Four.
Yeah, I love this question when I saw it. Thanks, Mike. This is a really hard question, but I got to say right now, I really like Baylor as a Final Four candidate. I like Duke, obviously, and obviously Gonzaga. I'll give you the top 3, which is, nothing crazy. But I think one sleeper team that we got to really look at lately is Seton Hall. Seton Hall has been playing fantastic basketball since beating Rutgers. And Miles Powell coming back into the lineup. That guy is a killer. They just beat Butler at Butler. Miles Powell making big shots. Seton Hall lately has been playing some fantastic basketball lately. That's my sleeper pick.
If Seton Hall ends up winning out and winning the Big East tournament, they could honestly be a 1 seed in the tournament too.
100%.
How crazy it's been. I agree with you on Duke. I think that your other picks, of course, they're all
Oregon. I like
teams.
the most out of the 3.
Yeah, Oregon's looking good. I like Memphis and Kentucky as well as sleeper teams because Penny Hardaway, I like him a lot as a coach, and I think they'll be playing for Wiseman and all that. Kentucky, you never count John Calipari. Yeah. I also like Louisville a lot, and I like Michigan State because you got to get some Big Ten flair in there, and I think they're the best team in the Big Ten.
And the thing with Oregon, they just played Kansas in Allen Fieldhouse, which Kansas never loses in Allen. They got destroyed by Oregon. That really showed me that Oregon is a legit national title contender.
I agree.
Okay, I'm going to hit you with a bombshell Final Four. Gonzaga, best team in the country right now. Auburn. Go Gus.
They just
lost. Auburn.
The first time. They got blown out by Bama.
This doesn't matter. It's January. Okay, go Gus. The third team, Wichita State. Number 16.
Oh, you're gonna shock the nation
number
with the
number
shockers?
16 in the country. They're always in the tournament, and they're gonna actually make a run this year. And the fourth team, there was always a big upset. Dayton. They're playing some good basketball right now.
Is that the team a few years ago you put them to the final?
No, that was there was a few. There was one year where I put like $20 in a bracket with SMU winning it all, and they lost in the first round.
I remember that. You were
that was rough. Yeah.
Andrew,
I've had some bad picks.
Name
nope,
me a player
I'm not going to do it. Before you ask me, nope, I cannot.
What are your thoughts on San Diego State? They're the only undefeated team left in the entire country.
I do like San Diego State, but I don't know if they can keep it up. And they always make the tournament, and I always don't really pick them to go that far, and they always prove me wrong. But I can't really see them making a Final Four run unless Kawhi Leonard goes back to school.
Yeah, I was just about to say, if Kawhi Leonard's back in school. And the thing with Gonzaga, I mean, they're always a 1 or 2 seed. And you look at I think they're in the Pacific Conference or whatever it's called, North Mount. I forget. I think it's called the Pacific or something like that. So they're playing terrible teams. They're playing these scrub teams. I think there's one team that's actually pretty good in their division. There's another team that's doing pretty well. You have it up or no? I think it's like a goofy team name. Here, let me look real quick. Sorry to keep you boys waiting.
Well, my thing with while you're looking, with Gonzaga is every year I like them. I like Mark Few. I liked them a lot last year with Hachimura. And I liked them with Zach Collins a couple of years back when they almost won it all. But, man, these guys just don't know how to win the big game. Yeah. And every year I'm like, this is the year. This is the year. And one year I'll be wrong, but I will not pick them until then.
Yeah, it was great to see you.
Do you guys want to hear my Final Four?
Okay. Yeah, I want to hear it. I really want to hear it.
Wait, real quick. What's the team?
Oh, it's Pacific. It's called a country.
Pacific?
It's called a college named Pacific. They are doing pretty well. They're 14-5 in the West Coast Conference. That's what it's called.
All right, so I got Duke, Gonzaga, West Virginia, and Oregon.
Interesting.
Those are very interesting teams.
Yeah, West Virginia full court press. I
name one basketball player on Oregon. Bol.
I don't have to.
Bol.
That was he had a legendary college career. I also, if Rutgers, I think they will make the tournament.
They're definitely going to make the tournament.
They're going to be a really tough out. I won't pick them to go to the Final Four. I won't even pick them to go to the league.
They won't be playing at the rack.
I'm gonna tell you what.
That defense will travel.
I'm gonna tell you what. That Rutgers team will be out before you can even say first round.
We'll see who they draw in the first round.
Right now, I'm gonna predict that Rutgers will be an 8 seed.
Versus like Cincinnati or something.
They will win their first game, which I will be nuts for, and then they're gonna get killed by whatever one seeds in the tournament.
Such a fan.
We'll see. Let's. Next question comes from who does this one come from?
Here, I'll just read the question.
It's rank the. Oh, this is from Tarek. Tarek Al-Casey. Rank the remaining 4 quarterbacks left in the playoffs. Actually, one of the only good questions he's ever given us.
Yeah, this is the first
giving us some sus
non-weird / Flyers question.
So I'll go first in my rank. I think the best quarterback left in the playoffs, and this isn't who's clutchest. This isn't who's had the best career. This is best right now.
Yep.
Number 1 is Patrick Mahomes.
Easily.
I think it's undisputable.
Undisputed.
Yeah. I think number 2 is Aaron Rodgers.
Okay.
Also,
I think right now number
easy.
3 is Ryan Tannehill, and then I would put Jimmy Garoppolo number
4. Judging from Jimmy G's last game against the Vikings, he played pretty well. I'll give him that. I mean, he threw a pretty terrible interception, but I'm gonna have to agree with you on that list actually.
Yeah, I think the way that Tannehill's been playing the last 10 weeks or so, that you can't put him behind Garoppolo, who hasn't proven anything. I mean, he's never done anything. I mean, he's a good quarterback. Don't get me wrong, he's Pablo, he's a top 32 quarterback.
And who's making the most money of all 4
and it's Jimmy and not Jerry. He is a very solid quarterback. He's not going to lose you a game, but he's not going to win you a game. Tannehill on occasion, he can win you a game if he hits those 3 touchdown passes. I mean, he throws for what? 15 passes attempts a game, but he can still win you a game. He needs those clutch throws.
I would put Jerry G 5th.
I would Jerry G 5th.
Jerry G.
All I have to say, if Jimmy G is number 4th on the list, that's a good list for me.
Okay, who's 2 and 3 then?
2 and 3.
You said Rodgers was number 1. Jimmy G's 4. Who's number 2 and 3?
Well, you want to know something?
Well,
I think
you better not. You better not do what I think you're gonna do.
Don't do the funny.
I think Rodgers is number 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do think Mahomes is number 2, but I think Mahomes can very well be number 1.
All right.
But
I thought you were taking Ryan Tannehill.
No, Tannehill is number 3, and it's not even close.
Not even close. Jerry G
4.
Is
Jerry G 4, Jimmy G 5.
Jimmy G not a top 32 quarterback, but Jerry G top 32 quarterback in the league.
Why you guys always bother
I think
me?
Jerry G's a free agent. He might team up with Ron Rivera in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe they'll have a nice little staff. Speaking of staffs, we got a late question in from Nolan McFadden, who says, Pablo for Mets manager. Not really a question, but would you accept the role?
I'm going to tell you what, I would accept the role. And you want to know what? That team would be all right.
What would be your first move as Mets manager?
First move as Mets manager.
To fire Mr. Met.
No. My first move as Mets manager, start Noah Syndergaard in AAA.
Well, I don't know.
That's why you're not going to become manager.
That's why you're not being interviewed.
I'll tell you that.
Bombshell candidate Mike Francesa. Who says no?
I'm in.
I'm in at this point.
This one comes from Sarah.
He'd fall asleep first game.
Yeah. This one comes from Sarah DeLucia. She just says, the buzzer news with the Astros. Rudy kind of touched on that.
Yeah.
Despicable.
Despicable? That's your word for it? Despicable.
You keep talking about it. You keep talking about it like there's concrete proof.
Let's hear one word to describe it.
Well, you got despicable. Is that your word? Or you want to change words?
I want to change the word to trash.
Trash.
Yes.
Good one.
Trash. Okay. I don't know. One word? I could go two. Not shocking. I wasn't really shocked by any of this.
I can go. Actually, I have another. I have another word.
Unsurprising.
I already said trash. I'm gonna say another pun. Canned. Because everybody involved is canned.
That was your cutoff. Fabricated.
Fabricated. My thing is buzzer news the
Just
Astros.
like your hairline.
One word. Let's not get into your hairline and what happened to you this week.
Oh, we can.
My my word would be overrated. Maybe. Maybe that's the wrong word to use, but I think that Overblown. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go with that. This one comes from OG Charlie, and this was something I wanted to touch on a little more, but we ran out of time. And he wants to know if Conor McGregor is going to win his first match, his first UFC fight.
Yeah, this is going to be a, the UFC had their best year last year in their history of their company, and now you're starting off the year. Usually January is a down year or down month for the UFC. You're starting off with the biggest buy and all of the MMA. Yeah, looking at Donald Cowboy Cerrone's his past in big fights, he hasn't shown up, but he acknowledged that in the press conference. I'll give him that. At 170, Conor chose the weight. It's going to be an interesting. It's going to be an interesting fight, but I think Conor gets it done in the second round knockout. Yeah,
I agree. I think McGregor's going to beat Cerrone. I think Cerrone has what it takes to pull an upset.
Yeah,
but McGregor has never been this focused. He said that he has never spent money on training, and this is the first time he's doing that.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see how he comes out and fights this week.
It's kind of crazy to see his approach. He looks a lot more humble. I think having a girl really settled him down a little bit. And last year, he had a terrible year with the punching the old man in the face.
He's a lot.
The allegations of sexual assault. His head is very level right now.
Yeah, I'm excited for this fight, and I think it's going to be a good one.
He's not going to lose to a guy named Cowboy.
Cowboy's dirty. I'll give him that. He's got the most wins, I think, in UFC history.
If he's a Cowboy, if that's his name, that means he's from Texas, and all
he's not.
And all
from
people,
Colorado.
all people from Texas are cheaters.
Okay, we told you he's not from Texas, and you continue to talk about Texas.
Z, you want to chime in?
McGregor or Cowboy?
No, Pablo. I want to hear about your hairline.
We got one more question.
Actually, for McGregor, to solidify my point is the Cowboys are all losers. So Cowboy is also a loser.
And he did lose his last 3 fights, I believe. 2 fights.
2 fights.
Losing culture.
Final question comes from Dave Stolte, and this was my favorite question. Thoughts on Jeopardy GOAT? Ken was cheating Astro style. Brad stinks. James still the GOAT. Did anybody else watch Jeopardy GOAT? You missed a really good...
I did actually want to watch it. I do enjoy watching Jeopardy.
All right, wait, who's the guy all the way on the left?
James, baby. That's my boy.
Wasn't he like the favorite to win, like going into it?
He is the best.
That guy is such a schmuck.
Oh,
he is such a loser.
You are wrong.
He is a loser, man. That guy is so annoying. And then he's like, 0 points to this guy over here.
Because Brad sucked. He was terrible.
Yeah, Brad sucks, but you don't have to acknowledge with your stupid...
Now, when you're the best Jeopardy player in the world,
you talk your
Who's
shit.
The guy in the middle? Ken Jennings.
Yes, that's the GOAT.
He is the worst.
Ken Jennings is the GOAT.
He's the Pat Shermer.
Wait. He was a buzzer. He had it in his ear.
Steve, since when was knowing people on Jeopardy ever a thing? Why is that?
Everybody knows James, man.
I know, James had a very long run.
James is a professional sports bettor.
Yeah.
So... that's already cool. It's better than whatever the hell Ken does.
He was in Uncut Gems.
The way James played was amazing with the daily doubles. He was the most exciting Jeopardy player of all time. He should have. I wish he won more. Ken was boring. He's annoying. He's stupid.
Smart.
I can't stand him. He's
Jennings. Smart. He's humble.
This is before
he's
the
handsome.
sport where we talk about sports.
This
not
is a
stupid
sport.
Jeopardy.
We're talking about Ken Jennings winning Jeopardy and pissing me off.
It's a mind sport.
I wish that James won. I'd like to see you do good on Jeopardy. we actually have our own little version here. Dan's what happened, Dan? Your mom got you some.
Do we have to do this?
We gotta do at least one card.
We've got to do at least one card.
All right, let me set the stage here real quick.
We'll do a debatable question.
Dan's gonna tell you your fortune.
What happened? Your mom got you cards for Christmas?
Put it in my stocking.
It was a stocking stuffer.
A stocking stuffer.
Your mommy got you cards.
We're gonna do one card. It has a bunch of it's a little sports game to end each show. So first time we're doing this, but real quick, we got a little Pablo story for you.
Jesus.
So Pablo, he got to get a haircut this week and it didn't go so well. So Pablo, take it over from here.
All right, guys. So before I take off my hat, I want to start off by saying that my hair has since been fixed. But number one, all right, let me take you guys back to last Saturday. So I had plans to go out. You know, I was gonna go out after work, and I had plans on going out to the bar, going dancing and whatnot.
Going dancing? What type of dancing do you do?
Well, I don't want to.
What type of dancing doesn't he do?
I don't want to get into that, but anyway, so I had the idea that right after work on Friday, there's like an app where I make an appointment for my haircut.
Is it Booksy?
Yeah, it's called Booksy, and I normally make appointments with, I have two guys. I have a really good barber.
Wait, you cheat on one?
Wow.
No, they're both at the same spot, and they're like really good friends. I either go to the one guy or I go to like this other dude who's really good too.
Nah,
but he's not as good.
Drop some names.
I'm not dropping any names.
Sims one of them.
Sims is my boy.
Shout out Sims.
All right, shout out Sims. I'm gonna tell him about this. I actually made an appointment tomorrow because I need another haircut.
Wait, that's your third haircut in the week?
This is from Saturday.
It's my third haircut in a week.
This is the daily lineup.
Saturday,
all right.
January, what was it, the 11th?
All right. Anyway, so I go after work on Friday on the app, and I try to make an appointment, but apparently I can't make an appointment. And all the appointments that I can make are for like 3 o'clock. Now, I can't do this because I need to leave for work at 12:30 because on Saturday I have work at 2. So my plan is to go to a secondary barber in the same town. Now, I go to this barber. I wake up at 9 o'clock at the crack of dawn, and I'm going
That's not the crack of dawn.
Anyway, so I go to the barber. I'm sitting in there. I'm like, well, this is good. There's only a few people in the chair. There's only like one other person waiting. And I'm sitting there. I'm waiting. And I just remember just waiting, and I was probably waiting for an hour. I saw the whole end of Dumb and Dumber playing. And
good movie.
It was all right. It was all right. Anyway, so I'm waiting in the chair, and I'm thinking, all right, this dude's not bad. He's not my regular barber, but I'll be next. So I'm sitting there, and I just remember looking around at the clientele, and I'm like, okay, that's cool, right? Old lady's cutting the old guy. That's typical. So anyway, the old lady's done with the old guy. I'm like, please don't look at me. Please don't look at me. And then she comes up to me. She's like, you're going to wait for that guy, right? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to wait for that guy. Because that guy's not bad. He's like, you know what, man? I'm working on this guy. I might not be done for a little bit. And plus, I got another appointment coming in. I mean, you've already been waiting here for an hour. You want her to take you in? And I knew.
Under pressure,
I
right
knew
there.
in the back of my mind, I should have never.
You should have
done
walked
it.
out.
I should have walked out. I should have said, you know what? It's not a big deal. I'll go out later on, without having a haircut. Anyway, so I sit in the chair, and all I remember was training day started. And the movie almost ended, and I was still in the chair getting a fade. All I wanted was a 2 on top, a skin tight all the way around, and my beard, which is kind of scruffy, just to be shaped up and kind of like blended into the sides. Now, if you guys see this catastrophe,
Oh, man,
she completely butchered my hair.
We'll put this on.
She
We'll
sheeped your shit up.
She completely butchered my hair to the point where as soon as I left the barbershop, I was like, holy crap. I can't go to work like this. My fade is not even faded.
They hooked you
I
up
couldn't
with
go
the Bermuda
anywhere like
Triangle.
that, dude. And she has the audacity afterwards.
The audacity.
Perfect. It looks perfect. Lady, you were
My
working
God.
on the fade for an hour and a half. I saw the ending of Dumb and Dumber. I saw all of Training Day. I saw everything while being in the chair, and the haircut still was not done. This is ridiculous. I had to call out of work that day because I couldn't go to work and be roasted
By the inmates.
by everybody.
What would the inmate have said to you if you walked in and they saw that haircut?
I'll tell you what, I would have had to find another job. And I don't know if I'm ready to do before the score full time. But all I got to say is my brother-in-law, shout out to my brother-in-law, he fixed up the hairline. And I got to get another haircut tomorrow because that lady pushed me back a couple weeks.
How much bald are you going to get than you are right now?
I don't know. Jesus.
Nah,
I mean, at that point, just shave it all off.
I think you should just
You've
go
done it
back to the
before.
old shave, yeah. You got to clean up your beard, though, a little bit.
I'll clean up your neck.
I've been there.
No,
You
you're
get a
not.
bad haircut, you don't want to do anything. You don't want to go even leave
Hey,
your
Dan.
house.
Get up and show the picture to the field cam.
Are you kidding me?
Cam's gonna work.
You guys are gonna put me on blast?
We're gonna put you on blast. You went on 8 minutes of talking about it. You gotta show the picture.
8 minutes.
All right. If you're listening on SoundCloud,
Look at my hairline.
you're missing out. Oh, wow, wow!
Look at that hairline.
Holy
No.
That's rough.
The
My
Bermuda Triangle.
What the?
And he's bald on top.
No.
Wow.
Oh. Man.
All right, I'm moving on.
All right, we'll start with
Pablo,
the last.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that story. I mean,
I had to call out of work, Steve.
I can tell. I can tell.
I don't get many of those.
I don't blame you.
So here we go. We'll start with Pablo. We'll go to Steve, then me, then Andrew. You have 30 seconds to make your case.
Okay.
This is the question.
We're gonna end the show with this.
Yes.
This is the last segment. I mean, we're running a little long right here.
You have
So
30
last
seconds to make your case, and at the end, we'll vote for each other. You can't vote for yourself. Who had the best
wait.
case?
Is
You have
Z
to
gonna
pick
do this
something
too? You want to put Z in
Yes,
this?
Z's in it.
Z is in it.
All right, let's go.
All right. Here's the question, Pablo. You have 30 seconds. What team has the most obnoxious
Someone's gonna
fans?
take mine.
Oh my gosh! All right, let me tell you. 30 seconds. All right. The New York.
Wait. We got
New York-
time it.
All right.
All right. Ready? Set and go.
The most annoying fan base in the entire annoying fan base world is the New York Mets. Let me tell you, these guys have never won anything, but they act like they've won a million titles.
They've never won
They've
anything.
only won 1986, 1969. The only reason why I know that is because I have to live in this stupid New Jersey town, and everybody talks about those stupid world titles. I don't care about the New York Mets anymore. Their fans are obnoxious. All their fans are ugly redheads, and this team
Do you
fucking
hear
sucks. And I
yourself?
hate them.
He's gonna
I
short
hate 'em.
circuit.
You're
They
answering.
suck.
You're
They
answering Steve's
suck.
question for
Yankees.
the next one. Steve, just say it.
Time. All right. Now it's my turn.
Yep. You have 30 seconds.
The most annoying fan base in the MLB, or not the MLB, because he got me off base by saying the Mets. It's not the Yankees. I'm not going to talk about the Yankees. How about them Cowboys? The Dallas Cowboys, you have not won anything in over 20 years, and I still hear about you every week in the NFL. You run the media, you run the NFL, they're everywhere. They're fucking everywhere, and I can't stand them. Stephen A. Smith, you're onto something. You made a career about it. The Dallas Cowboys have the worst and most annoying fans in the NFL, and that's a fact.
All right. I'm going to go a little different route here, and we'll start off. I'm a Minnesota Vikings fan, but I don't care about the Packers. I don't care about the Bears. I effing hate the Eagles. The Eagles have the worst fan base in all of sports. You live in a dumpster. Philadelphia is a city of a dump. There's no historical relevance anymore. That is a dumpster city. Your fans are terrible. They're throwing garbage at Minnesota Vikings fans after a championship game after they just blew them out. That city is trash. I hate Philadelphia.
I forgot about them.
They ate the horse poop off the ground.
All right.
I can't defend them.
Okay, yeah, that's indefensible. All right, and
The obvious answer is the Yankees, but I'm not going to get into that because they win. They win a lot. This also makes sense for the next team I'm going to say. It's just more personal than actually like the larger scope of things. The New York Giants.
Wow.
Just based off the people that I know. Joe Browning, I'm looking at you and you only. Steve, you're pretty bad with your takes. The Giants are going 9-7 or better every year for the past 10 years, and they have sucked lately. They've been terrible, one of the worst teams in the league the past 5 years. My team sucks. I know that. I admit that. So I'm not going to talk about them right now. But New York Giants fans are so obnoxious.
Over 30 seconds, and that we don't have enough time.
You don't win, sir.
All right, Zonak, 3, 2, 1, Z.
The Yankees, because
Let's go.
even
Z.
dude, I don't even follow baseball.
Let's go,
I could tell a
Z.
Yankee fan that, and they'll still tell me about their team. I do not care about baseball, but the Yankees just love telling me about their history, about the starting players of the week. I do not care about it at all.
They have the most historic.
And you know what? They shoved that 27 rings thing down.
I know they don't stop.
With that, there was
12 of them were.
there was 8
But
teams
even-
in the
but
league.
even-
Who cares?
all right, okay, but
You've had
even- but
one
even
title in
without-
your lifetime.
okay,
You don't
but-
remember
okay,
2000.
But even without those phony rings in
That's
the
it.
beginning,
Yankees it.
they've still won more than any other team in baseball by far.
I
So
see.
I'll give them that.
1986
But their fans literally
on Mets
suck,
Rewind,
including you.
At least
Yes.
twice a week.
Let's rewind. All right,
Yeah, because you're watching SNY.
Who's
They
watching
have
SNY?
to.
It's the Mets station. All right. We got to vote
Pablo,
to end
your
this
vote.
show.
Who had the
Pablo, your
best?
vote. No, you guys can't say anything after the vote.
All right, since
silent vote. Go.
Since I
Just
can't vote on myself, I have to vote, and I do have to agree with Dan. Philadelphia fans are just terrible. If you are afraid to walk the streets and roam the streets after you win, I cannot.
You can say
continue.
the same thing about Red Sox too, but okay.
That's true. That's
Go
true.
ahead, Steve.
Listen, I'm a Mets fan. I'm a Giants fan, and I'm not that annoying, so I'm not picking you two. I've been to Philly. I've gotten rocks thrown at me in Philly. Philly fans, y'all just fucking suck, man. Y'all suck, and I'm gonna agree with Dan here. The Eagles fans, y'all are the fucking worst.
They don't know how to act.
That's it.
I was obviously would love to vote for myself, but I'm going to go with Andrew here with the New York Giants.
Thank you.
There are some senile Giants fans that I talk to.
As a fan base as a whole, sure, they're not that bad, but the ones that we know are
you live in New York.
They're loony.
It's absolutely terrible what I have to be surrounded by hearing that the Giants are going to the Super Bowl every year when they have the worst record in the league.
They have the strongest Kool-Aid of all.
Bro, you could look at that with all Met fans saying that they're the team to beat in New York.
No, but the Mets, they admit when their team is horrible. They admit when their team is poorly run. The Giants, they have the blue goggles on at all times.
They do have the
live
blue goggles
in New
on.
York, New Jersey. You're not going to hear about the Vikings and how they're going to go all the way.
No, I'm not saying that they're talking about, but you completely
Vikings.
gas your team every single year, which to an extent, yes, but you guys go over the top.
I don't hear about Andrew and the Jets being a powerhouse.
I shit on them every year. I shit on them every year. I said that before I said anything about the Giants. I am voting for Z. I'm voting for Z.
Yeah.
Yankees fans are the absolute worst as a whole. Not even the ones that I know personally. Just as a whole, they're just a scummy fan base.
Everybody hates them.
I mean, they've won a lot, so I guess it makes sense that they talk a lot. But they say some ridiculous things. They're just assholes. They're obnoxious. These Italian Staten Island guys. They're the worst.
Disgusting.
The Bronx guys.
I'm not
they're the worst.
27 rings. Get that out of my head. Who cares?
Zonak, let's hear your vote. Zonak?
Sorry. I just got a message. I'm going to go with Dan here just because I've been to Philly, and Philly's just a trash shitty.
So Philly wins the shit bowl.
It's a trash shitty.
It is a trash
It
shitty.
should be renamed
Philly,
shitty.
The Philly fans win. Not Phillies. The Philly. Are we talking about Eagles or just?
I'm talking about the Eagles, but I'm going to say that
they win the toilet bowl.
Yeah. All right.
they
So
win the toilet
this
bowl.
first
Thank you.
rendition of whatever you want to call this card game, we'll come up with a name for it next
That
week.
was actually kind of fun.
That with the Eagles win, the Eagles/Philadelphia win the worst fans in all of sports. That's all we got for episode 6 of Before the Score. Let us know in the comments who you think have the worst fans in all of sports. Episode 6, Before the Score. We out.